So I've been what some would label as black for a very long time at this point. As a matter of fact, for 29 years and counting. And what I've experienced in this blackness is the fact that there are a multitude of people who happen to also be melanated who will gatekeep what it is or what it is not to be black. For example, if I speak in a certain way, there are those who will either label that as black enough or not black enough, or just straight out, you talk white. Not you speak white, you talk white, but we can get into the grammatical conversation later down the road. And so I've experienced this time and time again, what you are and are not allowed to think as a quote unquote black person. And that's what really pushed me to the edge. As far as the woke ideology, I don't mind somebody holding their own strong convictions, as ridiculous as they may be. But once you start pushing me and others into conformity on the basis of something that essentially you're using to control, because that's how I see it. You're trying to quote unquote use my blackness really against me. It's like if somebody says, well, you need to support black businesses because you're black. More likely than not, that's somebody who's trying to get $1 out of your pocket for subpar work. Because if they believed in their product or their business, they would simply allow for it to speak for itself. But I digress. I want to get into a clip that I only saw just the first few seconds of a guy on the opposite side of this black fatigue conversation. And so I thought, you know what? We need to get all perspectives, but more importantly, in this, I guess, marketplace of free ideas, which I believe in. I'm a First Amendment guy. I believe everybody deserves to express themselves, as ridiculous, as nonsensical, and sometimes even as dangerous as those ideas may be. Because when it's all said and done, when you allow everything to be stated, the best ideas will show themselves. And the best ideas are just rooted in reality, what works and what doesn't work. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. I'm as curious as you guys, so let's see what we got here. This is the anti-black fatigue guy.
Y'all playing a real dangerous game with this whole black fatigue stuff, and let me tell you why. The fact that, one, it don't mean what they think it means, but the fact that these people are getting up here and being...
Just a little context, by the way, for anybody who has not been up to date, up to speed with this quote-unquote black fatigue conversation. No, it is not African Americans or foundational black Americans or Africans who are tired. That's not what the statement means, right? Or at least that's not the context that's being used. It's basically being used as a way to say we're sick and tired of the quote unquote black culture, or what has become of the mainstream black culture, which many people are. Most decent human beings, no matter what they look like, no matter what your background may be, are tired of this sort of degenerate ghetto behavior. So I have coined my own little phrase, which is ghetto fatigue. But let us continue.
So bold as to say, we tired of seeing y'all. We're tired of hearing about your struggles. We're tired of hearing about what you go through. We're tired of seeing you in our movies. We are tired of seeing...
Okay, this is incredibly disingenuous. That's the thing. Again, I believe in free speech. I just don't believe in letting foolishness go without stating my own perspective. The conversation was not about we're tired of hearing your struggle. We are tired of the victim mentality. We are tired of you being racist and, using this disguise of black people can be racist because power dynamics. We're tired of that. We're tired of the complaining. We're tired of the blaming, but mostly we're tired of the violence. We're tired of not feeling safe. We're tired of the constant watching over our damn shoulders. Paranoid. We're not tired of the movies unless, of course, you have this woke agenda, which is pushing for, these disproportionate numbers of all these quote unquote marginalized groups to be in movies that it just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, having a black Snape in Harry Potter, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we're tired of that. We're tired of the pandering. Yes. But that's disingenuous. So let me see where he's going, because surely he is an intelligent individual who will further articulate himself.
You guys. And they are just loud and proud about it. And the fact that I'm seeing some black folk, like, yeah, I got black fatigue too, because I don't want to be around the ratchetness and this, that, and the third.
Yep.
Fool. They see you the same way you see them. The same way you see ratchet black folks in the same way they see you.
I would say that that's a two-sided thing. There are those who do. And that's the reason why we're speaking so loudly, is because we're tired of you being the representation. Like, imagine this. Let's take this this practitioner of bigotry for a second, right? Brother Big Back. If he was the staple, or he was the most celebrated, the most pedestalized version of what it is to be black, if he was mainstream of what it is to be black, most people would perceive that, well, that's what black folks are. That's representation, right? They love to talk about this thing of representation. He would be the representation of most black people. And unfortunately, we've enabled, because we've been afraid of being ostracized, or, we don't want to deviate too much because that's our family. Those are people that we love, or we're simply afraid because there might be some sort of retaliation or whatever. But whatever the reason may be, many of us who do not subscribe to this, who are finally speaking out, don't want to be represented by that. And yes, you go across the planet, they're going to go based off of what they see in the media, what is produced, what is continuously pushed. You keep making shows like Baddies, they're going to continue to think that you are the one-off baddies. And guess what? The odds are you probably are, because that's the culture that you're allowing to be the mainstream. So get back into it.
Because you're trying to say ratchet. You put an adjective in front of it. They not doing that. They saying black. We tired of seeing them do this, that, and the third, and whining and victims and this, that, and and y'all don't see what's happening. I need y'all to go back the last couple months and look at what's happening to all those Hispanic folks that were saying, well, I'm tired of the illegals too. They need to come to this country the right way. And you see that they didn't care if you was illegal or not.
See, again, when they start conflating these arguments and basically lying, some people are misinformed. And I do realize that. Some people are listening to the propaganda machine and they're believing it, which is still a choice. But nonetheless, they are essentially being deceived. Then there are those who are consciously being deceptive in order to get their point across. Legal immigrants are not being deported. Legal immigrants are not being deported. I don't know how many times I have to say legal immigrants are not being deported. Illegal immigrants, whether you are here for 5 days or 55 years, have the potential to be deported. Yes, a multitude of Hispanic folks voted for Trump because they want what's best for this country. The very same people, if they were indeed immigrants themselves, want everybody else to go through the same process, just like me. I'm a tether baby, as they like to call it, right? I have my lineage in Africa. And guess what? We had to go through a 10-year process to get our citizenship, to be naturalized. I want a fair system. Now, yes, we could improve the system, make it easier for the ones who are, going to be the best benefit, etc. Do obviously better vetting and faster vetting. Sure, we could do all those things, but it doesn't take away. But again, we're trying to conflate this argument. There are racist white folks as there are racist black folks. And I believe right now we have at least overtly, outwardly more racist black folk than we do white folks. It's just the facts, because that's who is allowed to do it. It's justified. It's enabled. It is normalized. It's like if you went back into antebellum times, if you went, let's say, back into Jim Crow era, and you go into most of these Democratic hubs in the South, it was just okay to be blatantly racist. That's what happened at this point. Black folks are allowed to be as racist as they want to be outwardly, and nobody gets to say anything about it. So there are those who are believing all black people are like this. And then there's a majority who say, no, we know that it's those type. And then there's these type. And it's like, this fake outrage. There are those, and I'm talking about white folks specifically now. There are those white folks who have been looking to make the difference between black folk who are civilized and those who are quote unquote ghetto and ratchet. Let me go ahead and take care of my situation here. There have been white folks who've been going out of their way to make the delineation, right? Okay. These folks carry themselves different. They're more well-spoken. They're this and that. And what do we choose to do? Be offended by it. How dare you say such a thing? Wow. You're different. How dare you say such a thing? What do you think I was? Well, guess what? When a majority is showing up a certain way, what the hell do you think is going to be the byproduct on the other side? How do you think people are going to see and respond to you? If I show up in the very same attire, in the very same mannerisms and gestures, in the very same way of speech as those who are given over to the ghetto ratchet ass mentality, I will, as a black man, I'm going to assume that you are that. I will assume that. If I see you sagging your pants all the way down your ass cheeks, if I see you, hoodied up, shiestied up, I am immediately going to assume that you're not trying to avoid the cold weather. You understand me? Well, surely he has that attire on because he has good intentions. No, I immediately discern, or you say judge, that this person is likely a dangerous person. You have the costume on. It's like if somebody has tattered clothes, raggedy clothes, etc., right? Has a certain smell they're emitting, you will likely assume that this person is homeless. It may not be the case. Maybe it's, Leonardo DiCaprio, because Hollywood, they have a phase where they like to dress as if they were homeless folks. But I would assume that. And so don't be offended if you're sitting on the side of the street looking like that and I might hand you $1 or two. You can be offended if you want, but the assumption is because of the presentation. That's, I ain't got all day to sit here and know every single situation. We're going to make inferences based on that. So yes, it's going to be titled Black Fatigue, and we can get deeper into it and say, all right, what does that actually mean? Well, it's because black culture, mainstream black culture has become this. We're not back in the 1950s, unfortunately, 60s, 40s, 30s, 20s. This ain't the jazz era. This ain't mom, dad, children. This ain't nuclear family first. This ain't God and these Judeo-Christian values first. It's not that anymore. This is baddie society, and we're looking to fix it. And some people say, well, all you do is talk about it, then where are the solutions? Guess what? The solution is in the messaging, because that's how it got to this place. Messaging. You have to have a counter message to create a counter culture that then becomes a mainstream culture. But I will let this brother continue. I'm not going to call him my brother because, frankly, I don't know if we share values. At this point, it doesn't seem like it. At this point, it seems like he's playing the victim card. So we're going to let this man continue.
They don't care if you ratchet or not. This is the playbook. We gonna say this, and then we're gonna make it seem like we're only targeting a certain portion. But nah, we coming after all y'all. And I'm so tired. There's two things I'm completely tired of. One, y'all conflating hood culture and black culture. Because, like I said before, hood culture is everywhere. Anytime you go to a low income, low opportunity area, it's going to be bad and crime is going to be crazy. There's rural areas that are full of nothing but Caucasian folks that's full of crime, and they tell you, hey, you don't go down there.
So I want to get this. Oh, I'm so glad he brought that up, because there's this argument that, well, poverty is what creates crime. Though the two may be paralleled, it's not the causation aspect. There are poor people in villages, rural places, etc. Like you go into Southern Africa, right? You go into rural villages, people aren't stealing from one another. They're not taking one another's lives, etc. That's actually seen as something that might happen in cities more so than rural, where it was considered poor. You go into a lot of small towns. It's just not the case because they still have values. That's culture. A culture is what perpetuates that. So yes, the ghetto, ratchet, criminal culture has to do with who adopts it. What types of people are these? Are they compromised as far as their value system? That's what that's about. So again, I'm letting him do his thing. But as y'all know, if you know me, I'm not just about to let it slide. Not like that.
Don't take that road. Don't be in that town. Are they in their trailer parks or the holler? Or are they cooking up what they cooking up? Like, dude, it's all over, and it don't matter what community. There's a reason they got the Yakuza over there, and then you got the cartel somewhere else. What, you think we're the only one that got issues with this stuff? No. But that's hood culture. If you knew anything about black culture for real, like I'm talking about, you actually studied it and you see the things that we were able to do, you will realize our culture has a lot of love. Our culture has a lot of passion. Our culture, it don't matter what in the world you do to us. It don't matter what position you.
Did you hear what he said? I don't know if y'all caught that. He said if you research, which means if you dig into the crates of history. And here's the thing. History is valuable. It's important. But we are fortunately or unfortunately living in the reality of right now. So let's put it into context. Where are we today? And where will we be tomorrow? Man, back in Kemet, back in Egypt, the Moors, guess what? The Moors are no more. This is not Kemet. This is what the mainstream, we have to stop denying this. And that's the part that gets me, folks. We have to stop lying because it's a lie. We have to stop evading. We have to stop projecting. We have to stop gaslighting. Nah, that's not what you're seeing. What you're seeing is not real. Every single day of your life, you seeing a new thing, a new thing, a new thing. Why is it that when you look into mainstream music and you look at either black or Hispanic folks, and I can't even point to most Hispanics, right? A subsect. Why is it that when you look at music there versus when you look at the music of basically everybody else, the imagery, the criminal culture is imbued, it is ingrained, it is in the fiber. The 304 representation. When you hear about a new black artist, why is it not Leon Bridges? Why is the first thing that pops up in your head not Darius, what's his name? Ruckus. Why is it not Darius? Why is it not Leon? Who else can I even point to? I would like to point to somebody like Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, right? Because he's kind of different with these guys. That's not the first imagery that pops up in your head. It's not Adele. You know what I mean? Or the equivalent of an Adele. It's not. The first thing that you think of is a Sexy Red, a Lotto, Meg Thee Stallion, a Cardi B, a Nicki Minaj. Why is that? A Pooh Shiesty, a Kodak Black, a 21 Savage. Why is that? And when people are, appropriating, quote unquote, the culture, they're taken from those elements because it's the mainstream. I'm not saying that most black people live in abject poverty, etc. I'm saying that this culture is the one that is oftentimes relayed to or related to. When you want to feel as if you are black within the midst of other black folks, 9 times out of 9, you're going to have to put on some sort of something from that criminal hood ghetto culture. Something. It's not like that for everybody. Not in this time of history. There are those who definitely are, Hispanic folks have told me more likely than not. But the Yakuza is not mainstream Asian culture. Otherwise, we'd be talking about it in the same way. Otherwise, they wouldn't be having the same advances as a collective. When you look at Japan, when you look at Korea, sure, they might have their own issues and, they got to make more babies and things of that nature. They got to get that feminist mentality out of them, that individualist mentality. But beyond that, as far as advancing their people in productive and positive ways, let's stop lying. Because that's what this is. It's a lie. And when you deceive yourself, you can never fix the problem. The doctor gives you a diagnosis. You're in denial. The problem remains.
Put us in. We are going to grind and get out of it. No matter what position. Just look at the things that were invented by black folks.
Here we go.
Look at the things that we have done. Look at the fact that no matter even how bad it is, we can still find time to smile. Like, what are you guys talking about here? But y'all want to look at the worst and say that's all of us.
I bet you he lives in a white community. I bet y'all. That neighborhood I just saw, I was like, oh, tree. But yeah, these are talking points that are always used, Look at what we made. Look at what we did. Look at what we... If this is accurate, and I'm not going to say it is or is not. If this is accurate, then it would display itself in the current culture and what is being celebrated. The child who has, invented X, Y, and Z is going to be uplifted as opposed to, who just got cast on the newest cast of baddies. Let's be real. Again, it's when you face these things, the shame dissipates because we're afraid to face the shame. The shame is just indicating that there's something there that's amiss, something that's off. You don't have to be ashamed about it. You just got to be real about it and say, okay, let's fix this. Let's change the way that we're moving. Even for me, in my youth, I spoke mostly in Ebonics and I was trying to, again, be a part of this. I was like, wait a minute, I can communicate. I can use my words to articulate how I feel. It just so happens that I'm in the world of words, in the world of communication, but I was cutting myself short because I wanted to be a part of something that didn't give a damn about me.
Boy, there's 40 plus million of us in here, and a lot of us don't do a lot of that stuff. Okay? There's a lot of us out here just law-abiding citizens do our thing. But they want to put the spotlight on the bad and say, look, this is how they are. And you won't hear saying, well, you black folks saying I got black fatigue too. Understand, they looking at you the way you looking at them. Y'all playing a dangerous game. We saw what happened with the Latino folks and all that they was doing. They running the same play. Y'all got to be smarter than that. And our culture is much more than just shake and tell and being hood and jewelry and everything that they trying to tell y'all it is. And if y'all, like I said, if y'all did some research, y'all would see that it's BS. Heck, you can do research right now and see what race commits the most crime in this country.
They still don't understand per capita. What is it? What is the disconnect there? What is the disconnect? Because, okay, so I believe the statistics were what? It's like, I don't know if it was in the last 10 years or whatever it was, but it was 4 million to like 1.5 million as far as these heinous crimes, right? White folks are around 4 million, black folks around 1.5. Yeah, but that's 13% of the entire population as opposed to around 60% of the population. Per capita. I don't know why it's such a difficult concept to grasp. Right? They're almost 4x. So if we were to, I guess, even out those numbers, let's just multiply that 13 by 4 in order to equal the amount of white folks we have in America. That would mean that black folks do have the highest rate of violent crimes in America. That's the reality. Now, we can get down to why and then how we fix it. But if you're not willing to face that, then you'll continue to lie. And when you continue to lie, you do not fix the problem. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.